there was no way I was going to bring any drugs in. But once the Woods found out, because there was a newspaper article that said I was, over the years, I'd done more than Sammy the Bull. So once they read that in the prison, in the remand jail, Towers Jail, the Woods, they were like, all right, we know you've got connections. Have your girlfriend bring stuff in through visitation. And I said, look, Alaska. I didn't know how to, respond properly. I said Alaska, and I kept slow playing it. But in the end, those prisoners who were sweating me, they caused a race riot, and they ended up getting moved. So that threat went away. But the race riot story is quite mental if you want to hear that.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love the lead up, the action, and the post-log. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, there were the 4 major racial categories. And the head of the blacks, I have to change names for legal reasons. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I use a name that's a different name for the same story, and people have called me out on that. But when you're publishing books, legal departments go over them and they make you change your name. So I'll call the head of the blacks Smackdown. And he was a boxer, and he had never lost a fight. And he was bullying members of all races for commissary. He came in my cell and he tried to bully a Snickers bar out of me. And I was like, look, can't eat the food in here. That's like a meal for me. If I give you that now, I'm not going to have a meal today. So he was sweating me, and he ended up going away. But he did sweat people and get stuff out of them. So all the heads of every racial category except for the blacks got together, and they said, we've got to do something about Smackdown. Well, if we have one guy say to him, look, one-on-one in the cell under the stairs, because he's such a trained fighter, he's going to win. And that gives him his right to stay then, because he's won the beef. Mm-hmm. So what we'll do is we'll send a torpedo in from each race. Now, a torpedo is someone who's just going to go in, no questions asked, do whatever the head of the race says to earn his stripes. So you've got a Mexican national torpedo who was called Diablo. You've got a Chicano torpedo. I can't remember his name. And then you've got a Wood torpedo who my crew knew, and Wildman knew this guy. He was like some tough cowboy guy out in Nebraska or somewhere like that. And they also say, right, we're going to send 3 in, and we're going to have 3 more outside the cell, just in case, in case it goes bad for the first 3.
Is this guy big or just skilled? Like, is he a 150-pound champion or like a 210-pound champion? Like, how big is this guy?
He wasn't as big as my mate T-Bone, but we can get to him later on. He was like John Coffey out of that movie, that Stephen King movie. Yeah. He was a decent-sized guy.
Boss.
So the blacks are downstairs. The day room in Towers Jail, it's got these octagonal silver tables bolted to the floor. Then there's a metal grid stairs running up to 2 tiers of cells facing the front. Now, there's 4 pods exactly the same like that in this tower, and in the middle of the tower is a glass bubble raised up with 2 guards overwatching the 4 separate pods. So, in the day room of this, the pod was designed for 15 men. They're triple bunked. They've got 45 guys in there. So in the day room, you've got the blacks on the table doing their gambling, cards, dominoes, whatever it was. And Smackdown is up in his cell. The heads of the races, they give the green light. So it goes off upstairs. The 3 guys go in. You've got more guys outside on the stairs guarding the position. And you got the blacks now downstairs starting to notice that something's kicking off. All of a sudden then, the whole pod just starts fighting. People are picking up mops and brooms and doing ninja moves. And the guard on duty, he was a really tough guy. He was supposed to wait for backup in a riot situation. He put on a spacesuit. He grabs a fire extinguisher-sized canister of chemical spray, and he's working his way down now from the fishbowl, the bubble, There's like a spiral stairs. So he's going to come out at the base of the tower, open the sliding door, and come in and spray everybody. And he's kind of come in right behind me. I was on the phone with my girlfriend. They cut the phone line. I'm trying to get up the stairs. This huge black guy comes down the stairs like a bowling ball, knocks everybody over. It's crazy. People are battling for positions on the stairs. I'm trying to elbow my way just back to my cell. The guard comes in. He starts spraying. When you spray that stuff, snot just streams and your eyes just water.
Mm-hmm.
And people did disperse. I managed to get back to my cell. I've got a cellmate called Troll, and I've got another cellmate who's an old-timer. And the old-timer says, look, when that chemical spray gets released, what you got to do is you got to wet your towel, wrap it around your head, and keep blinking and blinking and blinking over and over again. And that washes the chemical out, which is what I did. Now, the guards come in, the backup guards, everyone's in the cells, but we can still hear fighting. So I'm getting curious now. I want to look out my towel, out my plexiglass window. And what had happened was the torpedoes, 2 of them had managed to get out of SmackDown's cell, but the white torpedo was still in there. And they were just opening up with the chemical spray, and they were fighting blind. Now, what I later learned was when the cowboy went into SmackDown's cell with the 2 other torpedoes, he snuck behind him, and he got behind him, and he managed to get him into a headlock. But because SmackDown was a trained fighter, he pushed the guy back against the wall, tilted his head forward, flicked it back violently, and instantly broke the cowboy's nose.
Mm-hmm.
The cowboy's holding onto his neck, and the other guys are just punching the shit out of SmackDown. But he was so tough, it wasn't really having much of an effect. So when the spraying began, the 2 torpedoes, they got out, but the cowboy didn't get out in time. And now you've got this fight of the blind men until that stopped. Now, when that did eventually stop, the cowboy comes out first, and his nose is pointing in the wrong direction. And he says, in his polite cowboy twang to the guards, he says, before you handcuff me, do you mind if I put my nose back in place? And they're just looking at him like he's crazy. So the guard nods, and he just gets his hand and just puts his nose back in place. Yeah. So they take him away, because if you're in a fight like that, you're going to go straight to lockdown and the punishment block. They take him out. Then they bring SmackDown out. SmackDown looks completely uninjured.
Oh no!
And he just turns around to the whole pod as the guards are escorting him out, and he goes, for that 3-on-1 bullshit, I'm gonna have all y'all when I get out of lockdown.
Did he?
SmackDown sounds cool.
Did SmackDown cool off maybe while he was in solitary, or how did that work out?
I think that he ended up just permanently locked down, because he'd been in so many fights in so many.
SmackDown and Cowboy could have ruled the block together. Probably not.
Like Batman and Robin. They're not parallel.
Yeah.